The anti-Christian ACLU and Americans United for Separation of Church and State begin a disinformation campaign in order to suppress religious liberty. I'm Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action. Joining me again today in studio is Sean Akers, Liberty Counsel's Vice President of Middle Eastern Affairs. Sean, they're at it again. The American Civil Liberties Union, which is one of the most ironically named organizations in history, having civil liberties in their title. That's this kind of Orwellian newspeak where they go about doing exactly the opposite that they claim to do. They're trying to suppress religious freedom. They have begun a letter writing campaign again, named in Orwellian terminology, quote, religious freedom goes to school. They're sending letters to public schools around the country, essentially lying, telling them that a number of things, that the Bible, for instance, can never, ever, under any circumstances, be read, or any religious text, in the context of history class or others, which is simple nonsense. But we know that the ACLU, Americans United, have for a long time tried to and had great success at suppressing religious liberty. They're at it again, and conveniently, as we get closer and closer to an upcoming election.
You know, Matt, one of my favorite things about being involved with such a great organization as Liberty Counsel is that we specialize in showing the ACLU to be exactly what it is, the monster in the closet, the one that if you actually turn on the closet light, there's nothing there. When you see things like this, it would be comical if it weren't so serious. These appear to be nothing but litigation-based intimidation tactics that go to the American people and say, you know what, you don't have the rights that you think you do. And we, as the American Civil Liberties Union, are going to define for you exactly what liberty is. And liberty means everyone confining themselves to our definition of what the world should look like. In this particular case, that includes a hostility toward anything Judeo-Christian. Unfortunately for them, history is not on their side. The law is not on their side. And in fact, the American people are not on their side. The only thing that they have on their side are sleight-of-hand logical attempts like this to create the appearance of impropriety where there is no impropriety.
Well, you know, Sean, the ACLU's founder, Roger Baldwin, and I love to bring this up every opportunity I get, to remind people that he was an avowed communist.
Sure, of course.
And that the ACLU's roots are in communism. And what is part and parcel of communism? Well, Karl Marx often said that the religion is the opiate of the masses, and that for people to have true happiness, religion must be abolished. The ACLU has taken their great leader, Karl Marx, and their great leader, his understudy, Roger Baldwin, who said this. They've taken his mission to task, and they are, or rather to heart, and they are implementing that mission day in and day out. Listen to what Roger Baldwin wrote. I am for socialism, disarmament, and ultimately for abolishing the state itself. I seek the social ownership of property, the abolition of the propertied class, and the sole control of those who produce wealth. Communism is the goal, and again, a big part of communism is suppressing religion.
You know, Matt, when those are when those are the words of the founder of the organization, you can kind of see where the organization is going. In our particular case, though, while we can laugh about it because it truly is absurd on many levels, it's also very serious because just like the monster in the closet will keep you from getting up at night if you're a small child and you believe that it's there, so will these tactics by the ACLU convince you that you can't pray in school, that you can't say anything remotely political if you happen to be affiliated with a religious institution, that things like the Bible can't be used in instructing history and religion for that matter. You actually believe these things, and if you believe them to an extent, it makes them real because you're limiting yourself. Now, here's the thing, though, that makes this really important for our listeners, Matt. When the United States was in the throes of its greatest blessings, when it was coming of age in front of the entire world, and the whole world was having to to deal with the fact that this little nation was becoming something very, very special. Several people came to find out why, and one of those was Alexis de Tocqueville. And Tocqueville told us something that the ACLU really would like to eradicate. He said that I've looked for the reasons that this place is so great, and everywhere, I'm paraphrasing him, he says, everywhere I go, people may disagree on religion. They may disagree on theology, but what they agree on is what's right and wrong. That in other words, the Judeo-Christian ethic is everywhere the same, and that's what holds these people together.
Right.
They govern themselves under this Judeo-Christian worldview, and that is what makes them able to exist under a mere 4-page document like the United States Constitution.
Well, and that was an informed opinion that de Tocqueville expressed in Democracy in America, Volumes 1 and 2. It was rooted, he witnessed that environment, an environment that historical revisionists with groups like the ACLU and Americans United wish did not exist, and they tried to revise history and to really root out all reference to our religious heritage, our Judeo-Christian heritage. George Washington, John Adams, they famously said on multiple occasions that the two pillars of a strong nation are religion and morality, and absent those two pillars, the nation will crumble. Right. As the ACLU and Americans United try to again abolish religion and ultimately traditional morality, we see the nation crumbling. And George Washington had a little something to say about that. He said this, quote, "The propitious smiles of heaven can never be expected on a nation that disregards the eternal rules of order and right of which heaven itself has ordained." And that's where we are today. We are in a nation that is disregarding the eternal rules that heaven itself has ordained, Sean.
Well, the key here, Matt, is for American citizens, is for those who work in schools, yes, including public schools, for pastors and their churches, not to go for the bait, not to be intimidated, to go ahead and turn the light on in the closet and see there's really no monster there, and to go ahead and act like what they are, American citizens. And when you feel like praying, you pray. When you want to instruct out of the Bible, instruct out of the Bible. And let's see whether this paper tiger, the ACLU, really has any teeth. What you're going to find, especially with groups like Liberty Counsel, is that our ratios of success with the ACLU show you just how thin most of their arguments really, really are. And even the ones that are successful are quite often the result of activist judges who share their worldview more than the Constitution or any set of valid laws.
Well, meanwhile, back at the ranch, the ACLU's partners in anti-theism are engaged in a similar letter-writing campaign, sending letters off to churches where they are trying to intimidate and bully and frighten pastors from talking about transcendent, cultural issues, political issues from the pulpit, something, too, that the Constitution absolutely says is perfectly fine. And, Sean, you know how many churches have lost their tax-exempt status for even going so far as to endorse a candidate from the pulpit? You know how many?
A grand total of?
0. A big goose egg. And so the paper tiger, you nailed it. That's exactly right. That's what we're up against.
That's the beautiful thing about a paper tiger, though, is that they disappear with just a little bit of effort. So we definitely encourage people to know their rights, and there are several ways that they can do that. Matt, as you know, we provide several resources that can help you understand your rights.
We absolutely do. The ACLU's own promotional materials say, quote, "The message of the Establishment Clause is that religious activities must be treated differently from other activities to ensure against government support of religion." That is utter nonsense. Find out what the Constitution actually says. Go go to lc.org. We have a number of wonderful resources. The Patriots Handbook of Political Action for Pastors and Churches. Go to lc.org, ask for it, or the Handbook for Religious Freedom in Public Schools. Both available if you go call 1-800-671-1776 or go to lc.org. Find out what your rights truly are as the ACLU and other anti-theist groups try to trample them.